Most gracious and holy God, we thank you so much for this day and for the opportunity to come into your house, to sing your praises, and to hear your words for us. Be with us as we gather in this place, opening our hearts and our lives to live better for you and to follow you in all our ways. In your holy name, O God, we pray. Amen. So, up until last Sunday, which we were not able to be together, we were celebrating a special season in the church, a season of Advent. You guys remember that? That's nothing, you've heard that word before, right? Advent. Advent is a time at which we get ready to celebrate Christmas, right? The mystery of God coming and living amongst us. Advent is a journey, a time at which we're on the road, together as a community. Where are we going on our journey? Not just to Wadi Christian Church. I know that's what you were thinking. We're going somewhere. Where was it? Oh, I know. We're going to Bethlehem.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Who is going to show us the way to get there? Not Google. Not an atlas. It's got to be something different. Oh, I know. The prophets. The prophets can show us how to get to Bethlehem. Prophets are special people who listen to God and share what they hear. Prophets tell us what is to come. Isaiah. Isaiah was a prophet. Isaiah was a prophet who said to the community of Israel, and we get to overhear, that the Messiah was coming. That the Messiah would be like a light in the darkness. And so, Isaiah can show us how to get to Bethlehem. Let's light a candle for him and his words.
She likes it right down there too fast. Yeah.
Every time, without fail. Yeah. So let us join in singing a song for our prophets. Oh, come on, ye faithful. So here we are, still on our journey to Bethlehem, still looking for people to show us the way. You know, Mary and Joseph are on the way to Bethlehem. Certainly they can show us the way. They have a secret. The angel of the Lord has come to them and told them that they are going to have a child, God's beloved, and a special son. And so, here's Mary. And Joseph. And of course, can't leave out the donkey. All on the way to Bethlehem. So let's light a candle for our Holy Family. I know, it's a mystery to me too how that works. Let us join in singing the hymn for the Holy Family, Angels We Have Heard on High. And so we continue on our journey to Bethlehem. And who will show us the way? Oh, you know who comes next, right? The shepherds. The shepherds have been out in their flocks, in their fields with their flocks, listening to the sounds around them. When the angel had appeared and told them not to be afraid, but good news has happened. The child has been born and has been laid in a manger. They can definitely show us the way. So here's the shepherd. And here are some sheep. Yeah. And because they bring us such good news of joy, we have a different color candle for them. Let us light a candle for our shepherds. So let us sing a song for our shepherds. Silent night. Any guesses as to what comes next? Oh yeah. The Magi. The Magi can show us the way. The Magi have followed a magical star. Has landed in the city of Bethlehem so that they know the way and they can teach us the way. There they come. Here's one. There's two. And of course, their camel. They come with gifts for a newborn king. The star, a symbol of a king. Gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. Let us light a candle for the Magi. Let us join in singing a hymn for the Magi, the first. And so, even though we may be a little later this year than we normally are, today we celebrate Christmas. We have arrived in Bethlehem. On this day, we have a special card. A card that reminds us of Christmas, the mystery, the joy of God becoming like us. Joining us in this place. Today, we celebrate a baby born and laid in a manger in Bethlehem. Oh, the baby definitely gets the light because the baby is considered the light of the world. So let us celebrate the candle of the Christ child. And so, I know there's only a few of us here, but let us stand together and join in singing the hymn of the Christ child and the hymn of communion. Hark the herald angels. We are in the Gospel of John today. John chapter 1, verse 1. Keep it pretty simple for you. You'll know these words, many of you. like the back of your hands because you've heard it so many times. And yet it never hurts to hear it again. In the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him, all things were made. Without him, nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not understood it. Okay. I don't know if you know this or not, but when students are in seminary, they don't make a lot of money. Is that a shock to you? One of my good friends, her name is Donna. When Jonna was in seminary, her husband worked full time, which helped. But she knew she had to do something besides just the weekend thing at church. And so she got a little job at preschool where her son Dominic went. And she got very involved. Now, she'd never been a teacher before. Didn't seem to be a requirement for working with preschoolers. So on her days where she wasn't in the classroom or wasn't studying, she would be with these group of preschoolers. And as it got close to Christmas, she's a seminary student, so you know what they're going to do to her. They're going to have her in charge of the Christmas program. She knows it all, right? She's a student of the Word. Let her be in charge. So there she is with, 60 some odd preschoolers between all the different classes, and she's in charge of coming up with a program for them to do. Well, luckily, it was at a church. And so she could do the Christmas story. So that leads itself to a lot of, things. But you also have to remember she's got to use every single child. Every single child has to have some kind of role in the story. So she decides upon, letting the kids pick what they're going to do for these various roles, which, again, sounds like a great idea until you've got, 45, 50, whatever, preschoolers all fighting over different things. So in her play, they had 3 little Marys and 2 Josephs and about 20 angels and about 20 shepherds, and I don't remember how many magi, but a whole lot of them. And they practiced in their little groups and did all those kinds of things. And when they did the dress rehearsal, she thought she was being so clever. And so she put circles where all the angels were to stand, and X's on the ground where all the shepherds were to stand, because they were the biggest groups. And she had the shepherds and the angels kind of all together in one big clump around the Holy Family. So you can envision the chaos just from that, right? You can see it happening. But here's the problem that she did not foresee as a seminary student, as a mother, as a worker with the preschoolers. When they practiced in their regular clothes. The night of the event, they were in all full costumes, including the angels, who had these huge wings that they had not practiced in. And these gowns, which of course became flowing objects that they could spin and do things in, if you've ever seen preschoolers. So up goes all of the angels down the aisle, singing and shouting and doing their thing and getting on their circles. And then here comes all of the shepherds with their hooks and their bathrobes and all those kinds of things. All was well until it got time for them to get into their places. And they couldn't see their places because all these wings were over the places. And I don't know if you know many preschoolers, but they don't do well with change. If you told them to stand in one place, that's where they're going to go. And if they can't see that place, it's not going to go well for them. So there's this big backlog of kids down the aisle trying to figure out what to do. And the one at the front, little buddy Dominic, her boy, turns around with a red face to his mom and says, "Mom, these blankety blank angels are blocking my X!" He didn't say blankety blank. But we're in church. So I'm going to stop it there. You know, it's not just a funny story and a cute story after all these years. Dominic just graduated from high school, if that tells you how long ago this was. But it kind of also becomes an object lesson, right? Of all the ways and all the things that block what the true meaning of Christmas is for us. Right? All the obligations, the places we're supposed to go, parties we're supposed to gather with, gift exchanges, all the pageantry, the decorations that we lug out of the attic and back into the attic, all the dusting that we do, all the carols that we sing, all the cookies that we make, all the Hallmark movies that we watch. Gotta get them all in, check them off the list. All the worship services we have to sit through. Each of those things, while we love them and enjoy them, have a tendency to obscure the important meaning of it all. The meaning of the cross for which we're supposed to stand. That is why it might be healthy for us on this day to turn to the Gospel of John instead. In the Gospel of John, there are no angels. There are no shepherds. There are no magi. There is no star. There's not even a Mary and Joseph in the story, or a baby. None of it. Instead, we have some of the most beautiful and important theological language ever written. In the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God. And the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning, and through him all things were made. Without him, nothing was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness has not understood it. No shepherds, no angels, no wise men from afar. And yet here ultimately is the story of Christmas. This story says that Christmas is not an act of humanity, but of God. In the beginning, before we were created, before Apple and Google, before roadways and the DOT, before the governments and the presidents and the wars that have been fought, before the United States, before the earth, before it all, in the beginning was the Word. When we could do nothing for ourselves, not one little thing, God stepped up to save us. You might remember that several years ago, I got into the process to be a foster parent and went through all the training and signed up for everything. And ultimately what I ended up doing was respite care. So what respite care does, if you have a foster child, and you need a babysitter, not just anybody can babysit that child because the child's already been through so much trauma and is displaced and is going through so much. Whoever you have watch them also has to go through background checks and training and those kinds of things. It's a whole other level of trying to protect these children. So I went through the process to help out these parents because some of them don't have anybody else on their list, or the people that they have on their list are people that also need to be wherever they are. And so I remember I had just kind of gotten through the whole process, excited to get started. And I was asked to keep a little girl, and she was probably between 15 and 16 months old. So a little boy. And cute, oh my goodness, was she the cutest thing ever. So we played, and she laughed, and all these kinds of things, and got ready for, kind of time to eat, and I set her up in a high chair, and had her some, soft foods and those kinds of things for her, and fed her and those kinds of things, and do you want to get down? Okay. Do you want something else to eat? Okay. What do you want? That's all she would do. So I kind of I gave her some toys, let her kind of sit there for a little while. Then I picked her up and put her down on the plaything, let her kind of play for a while. Not a sound did this child make, but I look over and just tears are rolling down her face. And I think, in the world? So I called my caseworker, because I didn't know. I said, don't know me. I call her name Sherry, and I said, Sherry, I don't know what to do. But this child is here, and she's on the ground, and she's crying, but she's not making a peep. And I don't know what's wrong. So luckily, Sherry was kind of out doing some visits anyway, so she came on over. And sure enough, she looks at this child, and the child is just tears. Her face is red, and she's not made a peep. Not one sound since she's been at my house. And Sherry kind of got a little choked up, and she says, well, Tina, sometimes these babies cry, but they don't make a sound because they know that nobody will come. I still have not gotten over that. After all this time. They have learned that nobody will come, and therefore it wasn't worth their energy to really cry. What a sad story that is. A child who quits crying when they learn that no one will come. It could have been our story. It could have been yours and mine, but it is not our story because of a baby that was born in a manger in Bethlehem. An incredible act of our God. And in his story, God acted in a way that only God could act. For in him was life, and that life was a light of men. And that light shines in the darkness, but the darkness did not understand it. Why couldn't the darkness understand it? Why couldn't they understand him? Why did the world not receive him? Those are the questions that I always find myself asking. But they're not the right questions, are they? We don't get it. We don't understand it. I was reading kind of a parable of sorts. And it was written from the perspective of the angel Gabriel. So the angel Gabriel goes to God. Hold on. Hold that thought. Okay. So the angel Gabriel goes to God and says, God, I've got some good news and some bad news. God's kind of looking at him like, okay. The good news is this, the mission is accomplished. I have visited all the people you told me to visit, and I've told them what you told me to tell them, and it is all accomplished. And the bad news? Asked God. Well, the bad news is those people down there on earth are terrified of you. Every time I visited someone, I had to start by saying, do not be afraid. Don't be frightened. He's not coming that close to you. It's okay. Said God. You know what? I think I need to go to earth because my people are so frightened. They are so full of fear that I've got to bring the message that they are no longer need to be afraid. Here's the problem, God. They're so scared of you. How are you even going to get close to them? It's a good question, right? If they're so scared, how are you going to get there? To which God kind of strikes kind of this, and finally God goes, well, there is one place on earth that people are not afraid. There is just one remaining place where nobody's going to be scared of me. In a little bitty baby. Nobody's scared of babies. My people on earth are not afraid of them. And when a baby is born, they rejoice and they give thanks without fear, because that's the only place left in their lives where they're not afraid. So I'll go to earth. I'll become a little baby, and they will receive me with no fear at all, because that's the one place my people have no fear. God acted in the only way God could act without overwhelming us and taking away our freedom. God became a tiny little baby. Christmas is an act of God. In Christmas, God acted the only way God could act. And in Christmas, God gave us the greatest gift God could give us. God told us whose we are, who we belong to, and who we are. Right? I wonder if you have ever received a gift that you knew was not for you. Someone sent it to you or gave it to you just because they needed to mark it off the list of things to do. You were on their list, they had to get something for you, but it was very clear they had not spent a lot of time thinking about who you were. It was just something they grabbed at the last possible minute. Maybe you've done it? Any of you? Maybe? Okay, I've done it. I'll be the first to admit it. So I have to tell a story of my mom, and she knows that I'm telling the story, so she's probably going to get a good little kick out of it. So she came for Christmas, and she brought all kinds of Christmas presents, and she was so excited. Even brought me a stocking. There's something so wonderful about being, 40 years old and still having a mom bring me stockings. So she brought me a stocking full of different things, and of course we didn't make it to Christmas without opening everything. We were too excited. And I opened up the stocking, and in it is this, the whole stocking is full of a box like this of chocolate-covered cherries. Okay, here's the thing, guys. I detest chocolate-covered cherries. There is nothing redeeming in them at all for me. I don't particularly like chocolate, and I despise anything cherry. Except for cherry Coke, but it doesn't taste like anything cherry. I don't like the texture, I don't like the taste, I don't like the look of it, I don't want to touch it. It's like Debbie with mushrooms. I do not want it. There's my mom, so excited about this gift, and I look at it and she goes, oh, I bet it's Eva that likes them, isn't it? Yep. That's all right. My mom had lots of chocolate-covered cherries while she was at my house. She enjoyed them. They were not for me. I also think about, by the time that she was here, we had all these plans, all these things we were going to do. Breakfast we were going to fix for the church, and she was going to come and worship with us, and we were going to go and do all these random things. Well, it wasn't long after, she got here that the weather took a real big turn. Now, luckily, she did come a couple days early, so we did get to do a lot of things Tuesday and Wednesday. But by Thursday, we all know, the weather took a turn, and it got real cold and icy, and there we are in this house together with absolutely nowhere to go. We were stuck there for days at a time, and if that wasn't bad enough, then they decided to do rolling blackouts. So there we are in the cold, in the, whatever, sitting in absolute darkness for about half an hour together, trying to figure out what do you do in that time. It turns out that her and I are perfectly at home in peace and quiet. But there was a joy to that. That was a gift that we would have never asked for. No, I would not put that on my Christmas list. And yet, God knew that we needed it more than we did. In that time, we really got a lot of rest and a lot of joy and a lot of time to just be. God didn't mix up who needed what or who was supposed to get what. He gave us exactly what we needed. God knew right from the beginning what He was doing. God gave each of us what we needed. Which wasn't, by the way, angels and shepherds and wise men and Christmas programs as much as I miss them, and musicals and beautiful singing. Instead, what we needed was a light shining in the darkness. In other words, what we needed was to experience a little bit of Christmas in the dark. Amen.